Welcome to Whippoorwill Holler. I'm Miss Lori and this is Mr. Brown. We live in the hills of Arkansas. We love the Lord. Keepers of the old way, but accept some of the new. We love to cook and we love to eat. We love to garden. It's in our blood. It's how we stay sustainable and fill our pantry. We do a lot of canning and preserving. We live a sustainable life. We love our family. We work hard. And every once in a while, we like to dance. So y'all join us. Welcome everybody. So come on and join me for a little bit of front garden, a little bit of cooking, and let's go for a little walk through the flea market. Y'all come along with me. So let's get started making something really good for Mr. Brown. His favorite cake. This is as simple as you get, and this is one of Mr. Brown's favorite cakes. And I'm just going to be using a Betty Crocker French vanilla cake mix. You can use vanilla or you can use a yellow cake mix, whichever you want. And I'm just going to mix it up by the directions on the back of the box. I've got a 9 by 13 baking dish here. You can spray it or oil it, whichever you want. And just put your cake and bake it in the oven, 350. You ain't going to get any easier than this. This is such a good dessert to take when you are in a hurry to get something done and get it made, and say for a potluck or a church group or just anything. This is one of the best. There's 1,000 poke cake recipes out there, and this is one of them that he absolutely loves. Now, when you get it out of the oven, you need to do this step while it's still hot. You want this cake to be hot. And I'm just taking a chopstick here. When we go to a Chinese restaurant, I always end up bringing a couple of chopsticks on because I use them for everything. So we're going to poke as many holes as we can get in this hot cake. Now, I always use Eagle brand sweetened condensed milk, or if I do have sweetened condensed coconut milk, that's what I use. That's what I love to use on this. But Miss Lori's pantry, I had all kinds of evaporated milk. I am out of sweetened condensed milk, but I do have this right here. And I do keep this brand for different kinds of recipes. So this is what we're using today. But my recipe will be down in the description box below the videos. When you go down below the video, you'll see the word more, and you click on that, and all my information will come down. And once you get this poured on this hot cake, and this stuff is kind of thick, it'll start to loosen up, and it'll be to where you can spread it good, and all this goodness is going to melt right into that hot cake. Y'all, this recipe is so easy, it's almost embarrassing, but it is so good. So just spread that around good. And it's just going to seep down into that cake. And you talk about moist, and you talk about so good. I always like it when his favorite desserts or meals are some of the easiest ones. And this is my go-to dessert when I'm in a hurry to throw something together for some reason, that I got to take it somewhere or somebody's coming over. This is just one of them that always turns out good. So we're going to spread this around. We're going to let it cool off for about 2 hours, because your cake needs to be totally cool before you put the topping on. Okay, our cake's been sitting here for a couple hours, and it's good and cooled down. Now, you got two options. You can use your own homemade whip topping, or you can use 16 ounces of Cool Whip, whichever you've got or whichever you want to use. And all we're going to do is spread this yumminess all over the top of the cake. And this is about 16 ounces. And it's very important that you let your cake cool off before you do this. Now, the only thing I can say good about Cool Whip is that it does make things quicker and easier when you need to throw something together. And I always keep a couple of cartons of Cool Whip in my freezer for them times. And it does, homemade whipped topping does, it seems to, after a while, want to kind of break down. But I guarantee you this cake's not going to stay around long enough in the refrigerator for any of the whipped topping to break down. It goes pretty fast. So just spread this around good. Get it spread it all the way to the edges. Sometimes when I'm taking this somewhere, I'll even take, like, I'll decorate the top with some maraschino cherries, something like that, just to make it look pretty, give it a little color. But all you gotta do now is just take you a couple of cups of sweetened flaked coconut, and I like putting a lot of coconut on top of this. And this is it. This is your cake. And it's delicious. Mr. Brown will tell you how good it is. And there's no way we can eat this whole cake. And this is a cake that you can also freeze. It seems to freeze well. So what I would do is, after poking holes and cooling it off and putting the sweetened condensed milk on it, that's when I would freeze it. And then top it later. There you go. Your easy coconut poke cake. Mr. Brown's favorite. He is a little spoiled. We're going to start out with a pound of ground beef. And I like to break it up a little bit just to help give it just a little bit of head start. We're also going to be using a pound of mild Italian sausage. I'm just going to take it out of the casing. If you want to, you can use a spicy Italian sausage. It's just up to your taste. I absolutely love Italian sausage. I love it on pizza, in my spaghetti. If you want to, you can also, another meat version is when you're layering this pie, you can also use pepperoni in it too. But today we're just using hamburger and Italian sausage. And we're just going to brown this up good. As mine cooks, I like to break it up quite a bit. I don't like it in big old hunks. Now you can season this meat, even though it's got Italian sausage in it and it's already seasoned a little bit. The hamburger meat's not seasoned, so I'm going to add a little bit of salt. I'm going to add probably some pepper. And if you want to, you can add a little bit of garlic powder. But we will be adding some minced garlic to it here in just a little bit. Okay, y'all pay no attention to how I look today. I just come in from outside, been out in the garden, been out working in all three gardens. I'm hot and I need to get some supper started, so we're going to start cutting up our bell peppers, getting them cut up. You need a whole bell pepper, a large bell pepper, and I had a half of a yellow and a half of a red bell pepper left over, and that's what I'm going to be cutting up. And if y'all can hear in the background, I am listening to, I've got a video playing, and it is Robbie and Gary. I think it's Robbie and Gary's gardening, or just Robbie and Gary. I can't remember, but I listen to him all the time. She's a very smart gardener there in California. And she's not your conventional gardener, but let me tell you something. She grows a lot of food. She knows what she's doing. But anyways, I'm cooking and listening to her and Gary, getting these red peppers cut up. I'm also going to need a large, I'll probably use a medium sweet onion. I've got some Valdalias that I bought the other day. And I'm just going to dice these peppers up, and I'm going to dice my onion up. This is a recipe that it come from a blog that is called The Family Feast. And when I seen this recipe, not only was it beautiful, but it just sounded so wonderful. And, I love Italian food. I don't know that this is, authentic Italian, but, it's as close as I guess as we can get. So it just sounded like a really good recipe. And I used to make a dish called an upside down pizza pie, and it was always so good. And I cooked it in an iron skillet. I'm going to finish getting everything diced up and getting these onions and peppers in the skillet and getting them sauteed just a little bit. But once we get all this put together, the pizza pie will be put in the oven and cooked for about 40 minutes. I know this is going to be yummy. A few other things I'm going to add besides my peppers and my onions. I've got a couple tablespoons of minced garlic, and I went out and I picked some oregano out in the kitchen garden out back. I'm not going to be using all this. I'm using some of it. And I'm going to be using a 9-inch springform pan. Now, you don't have to use a springform pan, but for something like this, and since I have one, I want to see the layers in. I think it's going to be pretty. So I'm going to use this. You can use a baking dish. You can use an iron skillet, whichever you prefer. And I'm just going to oil the bottom and the sides really, really good. Now, when you bake this, you need to bake it on top of a cookie sheet because some of the juices will more than likely spill out, even though I'm fixing to put some parchment paper in the bottom. Whenever I'm using a springform pan, I always put it on top of a cookie sheet. So we got our pan ready. Now that we got our meat cooked, I'm going to use the same pan, same skillet, and I'm going to add probably a little bit of olive oil to it. And I'm going to put my onions and my peppers in here. And I'm going to let them saute for just a couple minutes because this will be going back in the oven. And I don't want my vegetables just cooked to death. So there's no sense in really cooking them all the way and getting them, all the way cooked when you're fixing to stick it in the oven. So just saute these for just a couple minutes. Now I'm going to add a tablespoon of minced garlic. Now I'm only going to cook this for about a minute. The house is starting to smell good. Now I'm using 2 tablespoons of tomato sauce. You can use 2 tablespoons of tomato paste or 2 tablespoons of tomato sauce. When I drained my meat a while ago, I saved the juices off of it. There wasn't very much, but what I'm going to do is I'm fixing to use it, put it right back in this pan, and you'll see why in just a minute. I just want to cook that tomato sauce for just a minute. Now I'm putting my juices from the meat right back in here. And I'm just going to stir that around. It didn't have a lot of fat in it. It's just the juices from cooking my Italian sausage and my hamburger meat. And to this, now you can start adding your seasonings. I went out and I've got a little bit of basil from out of the garden, purple basil. And I've got my oregano. I'm going to be using dried oregano and garden fresh oregano. And this is just a little bit of fresh, probably about a teaspoon of fresh basil, dried basil. Now I'm putting some fresh oregano from the garden. Oh, probably a good tablespoon. And I'm only going to let this cook for just a couple of minutes. You can see my peppers and stuff are starting to get soft. Starting to cook down. Okay, everything's ready here. We're going to add our meat back to our peppers and onions. Now I've got the stove off. I'm just going to mix this up together good. This will be our meat layer of our Italian beef and sausage pie. I was calling it pizza pie earlier, but it's not a pizza pie. It's just an Italian pie. Okay, now we're going to start with our first layer. And once we get this all together, you'll understand where we're going here. I've got a cup of Greek plain yogurt. It's just plain old Greek yogurt, a whole cup. And I've got 3 eggs in my bowl. And we're just going to mix this up really good. Now what this is going to do, it's going to make a batter. And it's going to be kind of like a pancake batter when we get done. So this Italian pie is not going to have a pizza crust. It's kind of like between a bread and a pizza crust. It's just kind of in the middle. Okay, I'm putting a pinch of salt. I'm going to put just a little bit of pepper in there. Stir that up good. And all this recipe will be down in my description box too. We're going to put a half a cup of all-purpose flour. And we're going to put about a teaspoon and a half of baking powder. Now, if you're using self-rising, use a half a cup of self-rising flour and omit the salt and the baking powder. And just stir this up good. And make a mess like Miss Lori does. You can see that it's the consistency of the batter is kind of like pancake batter. I'm just going to scrape my sides down. Flour sticking to the side. I love the idea of using Greek yogurt for this recipe. If you make your own homemade yogurt, use that. I'm putting a half a cup of Parmesan cheese in with my batter. If you don't have Parmesan cheese, just put you some regular cheese in there. I always keep Parmesan. I even keep it in the freezer so that I have it when I need it. And I just thaw it out in the refrigerator. Okay, now we're going to start with our layering. And we're going to start with our batter. My parchment little round wasn't big enough, but it's going to work. It'll be fine. And we're just going to spread this, and make sure that you spread it all the way to the edge of your pan. You're going to use about half of your batter. And it's going to be kind of a thin layer. I'm going to get me a spoon. I can spread better with a spoon. Get all the way to the edge. May have to put me just a little bit more batter in here. Just make sure you leave enough for your, because this batter will be your top too of your pie. So I'm going to put just a little bit more. And that looks a lot better. So this is your bottom layer. Okay, the second layer is going to be your meat and peppers and onions. And you're going to use half of it. So make sure you reserve for another layer of meat. And just spread it out as good as you can to the edge of your pan. You know, this is a very good dish to make if you're having somebody over for supper. They'll be impressed by it. And it's not hard to make. And, you know, it's really not that time consuming either. And you're going to just be amazed at how delicious this is. And this is where I was saying that you could add pepperonis to this. Now, our next layer on top of this meat is provolone cheese. And we're going to put a whole layer of provolone on top of that. If you don't have provolone, I guess just use whatever cheese you've got. We love the provolone. Okay, now we're going to put another layer of meat. This will be our last layer. So you'll use all of the rest of your meat on this layer. Now, sky's the limit on this too. You can put black olives, mushrooms. You can put some kind of different peppers, pepperoncinis, just anything like that. Make it your own signature beef and sausage Italian pie. And get that all spread to the edge. And the one thing I like about this too is there's not a lot of tomatoes in it. That's one thing that I have a lot of issue with right now. I'm getting to where I'm not eating as much tomatoes, even though gardening season I will be eating a few ripe tomatoes. Okay, our next layer is mozzarella cheese, and this is the mozzarella I have, and I buy this out of the deli. If you have shredded mozzarella, go ahead and use your shredded, but this is what I've got, and it melts up really well, and it tastes wonderful. So there's our mozzarella cheese. Okay, before we put this last layer on, which is our batter, I'm going to add, it's already got the Parmesan cheese in it, but I'm thinking about adding, maybe a little bit of Italian seasoning to it. I think that will be good. And you could add you a little bit of garlic powder to it too. And put a little bit more dried oregano in it. I love the taste of oregano. Okay, so this is your last layer. And you're just going to pour it over the top. And you're going to just spread it around as well as you can. You know, we love lasagna. And this is kind of like making lasagna with the layering. But, you know, it really doesn't take that much time. And it's such a pretty dish when it gets done. And the taste is awesome. It is so good. Mr. Brown loves a good pot of homemade spaghetti. And I do too. But I do love Italian food. I watch a lot of different Italian cooks on YouTube, and I'm just so impressed with their um, with the ingredients they use, and everything they cook just looks so good. My biggest problem right now is eating tomatoes, and it's not that it makes me sick or anything, because I absolutely love them, but I have to watch the acidity, not only for my indigestion issues, but um, I do have a lot of arthritis, and they think that that contributes to some of the inflammation and stuff. So, anyways, I'm just being careful about my tomato intake. In the oven, 350 for about 40 minutes. Here it is, guys. After 40 minutes exactly. Isn't that beautiful? Oh my god. The house smells wonderful. Danny come in, he said, this house smells so good. So now let's try to cut into this thing. So since I put it into a springform pan, I'm just going to cut around the edge, and we're going to see if we can get the sides off, get this off of here without tearing the pie up. Let's see. We'll just do it. It's hot, but I'm going to do it. Leave it on this sheet pan because there is going to be a little bit of juice come out of it. And some of that cheese is stuck to the edge, but we'll be okay, I think. Ooh, isn't that pretty? Look how brown it is on the sides. That cheese got good and brown. The crust is done. Oh my. Can y'all see how that looks? Y'all, I'm sorry. I'm trying to focus my camera here. I'm trying to get y'all in there. But we're fixing to cut into this. And I know it's not going to be easy. All that cheese in there is going to be kind of ooey gooey and stringy. But we're going to do it. If I can get my camera placed here where I want it. Okay, I ended up getting my bread knife, a good serrated knife. And it cut right through that pie, very pretty. The only thing is it had, you know, the cheese is going to stick to it, of course, but that's okay. But I also remember that I got a piece of parchment paper down there that I've got to get out too, so we're just going to cut this just like you would any pie. And it is cutting very easy. It's set up very good, so it'll make a good presentation, I hope. But we do know that the first cut of pie, like I always say, is not pretty. So, we'll see. Well, here I done cut my pie up. I want you to look how pretty the inside is. And here it is. on our plate. And we're just eating a salad with it. Isn't that pretty? Looks so good. I can't wait to taste it. I'm going to fix Mr. Brown a plate. We'll see what he says. Pizza pie.
So I'm eating pizza pie.
Italian pizza pie.
Let me tell you something. I smelled it cooking a while ago. And I thought, man, that smells wonderful. And it did. It smelled so good cooking. And now that I'm tasting it, I'm thinking, it is wonderful.
It is, isn't it?
It's really good.
It's really good. The violet vines are taking over. My water trough is full of wildflowers, geraniums, tomatoes, chamomile. There's some wildflowers. I think everything in the Greenstalk is looking pretty good. The herbs need to be trimmed, and pretty much all the flowers are doing good. Chives, lemon balm, everything's looking good. We have a really nice flea market in Hoxie, Arkansas. It's called Mom and Pa's Flea Market. And I've been wanting a small antique or just older love seat to sit in the sunroom. And I'll show you my front porch. But anyways, I did find one. And that's what you see in the back of my truck. I'm fixing to use my daughter's steam cleaner on it, and it's in decent shape. It's not, it's a Broyhill. It's older. I think it's going to look good in there, but I'm going to clean it good before I take it in the house. So I hope y'all enjoyed this little walkthrough. I want y'all to look. I want to show y'all this. This is a lemon. This is a little bitty lemon tree I planted out here just a couple weeks ago, and I think I'm going to have another one right there. So I'll get a couple lemons maybe this year off this little bitty lemon tree. I hope y'all enjoyed the walk through the garden. Now I'm taking you with me. I went to a little flea market in Hardy. I know a lot of y'all that drive through Hardy, Arkansas a lot, going to a lot of different places. This is Miss Moss, or Moss's Antiques. We just love Miss Moss. She was all four of my kids had her. She is an excellent teacher. And she has the nicest flea market. Everything is just so clean and put together, and just the way that she displays everything, and I always come in here and find something.
If you don't care,
so if you're ever through Hardy, Arkansas, stop on the main street and visit Miss Moss in her flea market. She has a lot of nice stuff, and I know that y'all would find something that would catch your eye, and something that you would take home with you. There's just so much. Now, I've never seen a cake pan like this. This is an older one, and it's for a oblong cake. And that's something that I don't have. All I have is like round cake covers. I love all the old utensils, and she has a lot of iron skillets, Wagner, Lodge, just the different older antique cast iron skillets. She has a lot of Wagner and different ones. She has some Tupperware, some old Tupperware. A lot of nice dishes. I know a lot of y'all collect glassware. Some more of the old utensils. I have a couple of these. I love all the old ones that have the red handles on them. That's what a lot of people collect. And this is a pie spatula, and it's got a short handle on it. That's kind of neat. Kind of like that. Everything in here is just so clean. And this is, a lot of y'all that collect glassware know exactly what this is. Is this what they call Firestone? Something like that. I couldn't see it though. I didn't have my glasses on. I'm not very good at glassware. I'm not real keen on that stuff. The little rooster plates. And I got my eye on that chicken fryer up there. But I also have my eye on a chicken fryer that they've got that's a Wagner. Utterbomb. Old tins of Utterbomb. I do collect old tins. And right down there is the Wagner chicken fryer that I may end up taking home with me. I've been wanting a deep one like this that they call chicken fryer. And if you order one online from Amazon or Lodge anywhere, they are very, very expensive. And that is an old Wagner. I want you to look at the cookie cutters. All kinds of cookie cutters in here. Some of them are old, some are new. I love showing y'all all this because, like I said, some of y'all drive through here all the time and kind of give y'all some ideas. She just has so much in here. I love this old box and the old jugs. Carnival glass. Danny collects these. Not that. That is a cake mold or some kind of mold, and it's a cast iron, very old. Pulleys. He collects these old pulleys, especially ones that have the wooden pulley on it. He likes the wood. I ended up buying this old antique pitcher because I love to decorate primitive. I have no idea who these people are. I just love the picture. It's really neat. And I also ended up getting the Wagner chicken fryer. It's in really excellent condition, and I will be using that thing a lot. I hope y'all enjoyed this video, spending time with me, cooking, spending time in my garden with me, going to the flea market with me. We love y'all. We're all busy right now in the gardens and just a whole lot going on, but you know we always come back to you because we love to visit with you. And we love y'all and see y'all in a couple of days. God bless.